In my past life, my superstitious best friend Su Ruan was always crying about her bad luck, coaxing me into letting her borrow my fortune. She took my jewelry, my hair, and even my personal clothing to perform rituals. My life took a sharp turn for the worse. My job was taken, my boyfriend was stolen, and my parents died in an accident. As I lay on my deathbed, she finally gloated, "Silly you. That little bit of fortune you had to bring prosperity to your husband and wealth. I swapped it away long ago. Everything you had is now mine." When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day when Su Ruan once again had red-rimmed eyes, begging me to lend her an old necklace to change her luck. She held my hand, tears falling like broken beads. My boyfriend wants to break up with me. The master said I just need a little bit of your life energy to win him back. You're my best friend. You'll definitely help me, right? I looked at this innocent and pitiful face, remembering how in my past life she wore my necklace, held my boyfriend's arm, and lived in the house bought with my parents' inheritance. I laughed, gripping her cold hand in return, my tone more enthusiastic than ever before. Ruan, what's an old necklace worth? Did the master say whether it would be even more effective to directly give you the most prosperous parts of my fate? Like the foundation of prospering my husband or prospering wealth? Su Ruan froze, my eyes were icy cold. In this lifetime, do you want to borrow my luck? Fine, I'll give it all to you, principal and interest included. I'm just afraid you won't be able to handle it, nor do you deserve it. My name is Lin Yu, an ordinary urban white-collar worker, as ordinary as they come. If I had to say there's anything special about me, it's probably that since I was young. Fortune tellers have always said my fate is steady with hidden prosperity. Though I may not have great wealth or high status, I always have good fortune protecting me at critical moments, commonly known as having pretty good luck. But this good luck seemed to start diminishing after my best friend, Su Ruan, appeared. Su Ruan, true to her name, has a sweet appearance, speaks softly, and always wears a slight frown, carrying a touch of endearing melancholy. We met in college, and she often said she envied my good luck, describing me as a little sun while she was a rainy day. At first, it was just small things. I have an interview next week. You're so lucky. Could I borrow this lucky bracelet for a couple of days? She pleaded, blinking her watery eyes. It was a birthday gift from my mom, and after hesitating, I took it off and gave it to her. As a result, she passed her interview, while my promotion assessment around the same time inexplicably failed. I've been having insomnia and nightmares lately. A master told me there's negative energy around me, and I need some vital energy from close family or friends to counteract it. Could you cut a lock of your hair for me? I'll just put it under my pillow. Her eyes were red, looking pitiful. I couldn't refuse, so I cut it. Then I started having frequent headaches, and at a critical moment in my project, my computer's hard drive suddenly crashed. My mom is sick and needs money for surgery. The master said that if I keep a personal item from someone with deep fortune at home, it can attract wealth and change luck. That pearl necklace you always wear, could you? She cried, looking utterly heartbroken. My parents passed away early, and I can't bear to hear such things. My heart softened, and I gave her the pearl necklace my grandmother left me. Her mother's surgery went smoothly, but during that time, I fell victim to an investment scam and lost a large portion of my savings. Every time she borrowed luck, Su Ruan always got what she wanted, overcame difficulties, and even thrived. Meanwhile, I lost opportunities, suffered financial losses, and gradually developed various minor health issues in a series of coincidences. She would always hug me, crying with gratitude. You're truly my lucky star. What would I do without you? And I, seeing her doing better and better. Though I was having some bad luck, never thought too deeply about it, out of friendship and a strange sense of satisfaction from helping a friend. That was until I met Yu. He was a client at my company, mature and steady, and treated me with great care. Our relationship quickly deepened, and we started talking about marriage. Su Ruan was happy for us too, often coming over to my place and sweetly calling Yu brother-in-law this and brother-in-law that. The incident happened on a stormy night. I returned from a business trip earlier than expected, wanting to surprise Yu. As I opened the door, I heard Su Ruan's tearful, coquettish voice coming from the bedroom. Brother Yu, sister Yu's fate is so tough. She brought misfortune to her parents, and now even you're starting to have bad luck. Didn't the master say that only by completely cutting ties with her and connecting your energy with mine can you successfully secure that big project? I just don't want to see you suffer. This was followed by Yu's gentle reassurance. I know, Ruan, you've been wronged. Just wait a little longer, until I get my hands on the shares in the house she owns. I felt as if struck by lightning and collapsed at the doorway. So, my parents' accident. All the misfortunes I've faced, what I thought was just unfair fate, were actually the result of the two people I trusted most, conspiring with some master to steal my energy and even plotting to take everything from me. I rushed in and fought with them, but Zhou pushed me away, causing me to hit my head on the corner of a table and pass out. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital, severe concussion, physically weak. Zhou and Su Ruanruan never showed up again. News came from the company that my position had been replaced, and my shares had been maliciously transferred. Bad news arrived from my hometown. The old house left by my parents had been sold at a low price due to a power of attorney I had signed. I lay on the hospital bed, covered in tubes, my consciousness blurred. In my final moments, Su Ruanruan came, dressed glamorously. She leaned close to my ear and whispered in a voice only I could hear, sweet yet venomous, Lin Yu. Haven't you realized it yet? The little hidden prosperity in your fate has long been transferred to me bit by bit through the method of borrowing luck. Your job, your man, your money, your luck, they're all mine now. Oh, by the way, Zhou is about to propose to me, right in the house you bought with your parents' inheritance. Just go in peace, and in your next life, remember not to wear your blessings on your face, okay? She smiled, turned, and left. The sound of her high heels tapping the floor echoed like a funeral bell. Endless hatred, coldness, and regret consumed me. In the final moment as my consciousness sank into darkness, I seemed to see countless fine, golden threads being forcibly pulled from my body, disappearing into Su Ruanruan's triumphant figure. Is that my luck? If there were another chance, a sharp headache jolted me awake. I snapped my eyes open to find myself sitting on the living room sofa, holding a cup of warm floral tea, outside the window. The sun was bright. It was clearly afternoon. Sitting across from me was Su Ruanruan. She was wearing a white dress, her eyes slightly red and the tip of her nose flushed. She looked at me with those deer-like, moist eyes, clutching a simple, old-style necklace I hadn't worn in a long time. Yu, please help me. This time it's really important. The master said we're just a little short of your vital energy to help me win Ajay back. You're my best friend. You'll definitely help me, right? The scene, the dialogue, even her pitiful expression, were exactly the same as a certain moment in my memory. I have been reborn. I had been reborn back to the day when Su Ruanruan once again came to borrow luck, and in my past life, I foolishly agreed, accelerating my own misfortune. My heart was pounding in my chest, not out of fear, but because of overwhelming hatred and the sudden opportunity that had descended, clashing violently, as I looked at Su Ruanruan's seemingly pure and flawless face. My mind flashed with her smug expression at my sickbed in my past life, with Zhou hypocritical tenderness, with my parents' empty old house. Hate, like a poisonous vine, instantly entwined my heart, but this time, I did not erupt immediately. I slowly set down the flower tea, feeling the lingering warmth at my fingertips, sensing the power of blood flowing through my healthy body. I am still alive, nothing has happened yet. My parents' old house is still there, my job is still there. My health is still there too. Most importantly, I now know their dirty tricks, borrowing luck, exchanging fates. All right, I lifted my head, meeting Su Ruanruan's hopeful gaze, and slowly revealed a smile more gentle and sincere than ever before. Su Ruanruan seemed momentarily dazzled by my overly radiant smile, a flicker of confusion quickly passing through her eyes, but it was soon replaced by even more earnest pleading. Yu, what are you smiling about? Do you think I'm being too superstitious? She pouted, her eyes growing even redder. I know it's not right, but I really have no other choice. Ajay really wants to break up with me. I'd die without him. Here we go again. In my past life, I was fooled time and again by her seemingly fragile, love-dependent demeanor, and my heart softened over and over. How could I not? I took her hand holding the necklace, my voice dripping with tenderness. Yet my gaze was like an icy searchlight sweeping over her face. We're best friends, after all. How could I not help when you're in trouble? Su Ruanruan's hand was ice cold, and it trembled almost imperceptibly when I held it. She probably didn't expect me to agree so readily this time, and with such enthusiasm. Really, you're the best, Yu. She immediately brightened up, trying to pull the necklace away. So, this necklace, I didn't let go. Instead, I held on even tighter, speaking in a thoughtful tone. But, Ruanruan, I was thinking what? Su Ruanruan looked at me warily. I was thinking, how much effect can an old necklace have, even if it carries a bit of my life force? I tilted my head, putting on an expression of wholehearted concern for her. This is a big deal for you, mending a relationship. Is this little bit of life force enough? Did that master ever mention if there's a more direct, more effective method? Su Ruanruan was stunned, her eyes flickering uncertainly. A more more direct method, yeah. I leaned in closer to her, lowering my voice and speaking mysteriously. For example, it's not just about borrowing a little bit of external vitality, but directly transferring some of the better foundations from my fate to you. I've heard elders say that some people have foundations in their fate like prospering a husband or prospering wealth, though they may not stand out themselves. They can bring blessings to those close to them. With every word I spoke, Su Ruanruan's eyes grew brighter. In my past life, that so-called master probably brainwashed her in the same way, making her firmly believe she could steal my blessings. No, I was personally placing the bait right in front of her. Really, is that possible? Su Ruanruan's voice trembled slightly with excitement, but she quickly put on a mask of concern. But wouldn't that be bad for you? Could it harm your foundation? Look, what a thoughtful best friend. In my past life, it was just like this, greedily taking while pretending to care, making me let my guard down and even feel moved by her supposed kindness. For you, what's a little bit of luck? I patted the back of her hand, my smile flawless. Besides, didn't the master say we have complementary destinies? If my prosperity goes to you, maybe it's another form of balance for me too. Isn't that better than me always leaking luck? I sighed meaningfully. Su Ruanruan was clearly swayed by my words, especially the terms complementary destinies and leaking luck, which precisely aligned with the theories she and that master had been fed. She hesitated for a moment, then cautiously asked, "Then, how do we transfer it? The master only mentioned before that we need something personal and frequently used by you, preferably something that carries the most of your vital energy." The most vital energy, I sneered inwardly, in my past life. They escalated step by step, from a bracelet to hair to personal clothing. In the end, did they even want my blood, my life? Well, I pretended to think seriously, something personal and frequently used, and preferably something that represents the foundation. Did the master ever mention, for example, hair, or something more direct, like, I deliberately paused, watching her hold her breath, like, using my blood mixed with cinnabar or something to write a talisman? I've heard that in ancient rituals for transferring luck, it often requires the fingertip blood of a close relative or dear friend as a catalyst. Fingertip blood. Su Ruanruan's pupils contracted sharply, her breathing quickening. Greed completely overwhelmed her disguise. She probably thought that I, this fool, had actually taken the initiative to propose the ultimate step they had been dreaming of. Why yes, it seems. There is such a saying. She struggled to suppress her excitement, stammering as she spoke. You're willing, isn't this too, for your happiness? I'm willing to give it a try, I said resolutely, with a self-sacrificing holy light on my face. However, for such a major matter, we can't act recklessly. We need to find a truly reliable master. Ruanruan, does the master you know perform rituals? We need to invite him to preside over it, to make it more formal, so as not to backfire. I kicked the ball back to her, also to see who the master behind her really was. Su Ruanruan nodded eagerly. Yes, the master is very powerful. I'll contact him right away. You're really too kind. I'll remember your kindness for the rest of my life. She lunged forward to hug me, but I deftly sidestepped to avoid her. By the way, I said, as if it had just occurred to me, with this kind of ritual, will there be any backlash, or do I need to pay some price? Did the master mention anything? Su Ruanruan's eyes flickered for a moment before she quickly waved her hands. No, the master said this is mutual benefit, a win-win. It's only good for you, no harm at all. At most, you might feel a bit tired at first. But that's just a normal reaction when the foundation is being transferred. You'll be fine after resting for a few days. She spun her story quite smoothly. That's good to hear, I nodded, showing a relieved smile. So, when would be convenient for you? Let's do it as soon as possible, so you can win Ajia back sooner. I'll ask the master right away. Su Ruanruan eagerly took out her phone and walked to the balcony to make the call. I watched her retreating figure, the smile on my face gradually cooling until only a cold, mocking expression remained. Fingertip blood, transferring luck, fine. I stood up, walked to the study, and turned on the computer. In my previous life, I had been muddle-headed, consumed only by hatred, and never thought to take the initiative to investigate. Now, I needed to know the background of that master. And I also needed to know how far Su Ruanruan and Zhou Yu had progressed. Using some less than legal but effective methods, I had secretly learned a bit of hacking in my past life to investigate the truth behind my parents' accident. I quickly traced a phone number that Su Ruanruan frequently contacted. The registered owner's information showed the name Jia Daoran, who had registered a metaphysical culture consulting studio under his name, located in an old residential area on the urban-rural fringe. Traces online revealed that this person was nothing more than a half-baked charlatan, specializing in fraud and even extortion through mystification and collecting clients' private information, such as obtaining birth dates, personal belongings, and even blood or hair under the guise of performing rituals. As for Zhou Yu's side, I took a deep breath and entered his name along with some information I knew. The results turned my stomach. Zhou Yu's company was indeed recently competing for a large government-led infrastructure project, and the competition was fierce. The transaction records of his personal account showed several large, unexplained expenditures recently. What chilled me to the core was that the case number of my parents' accidental traffic accident, which I had secretly memorized, actually appeared in an internal memo summary of a legal consulting firm secretly connected to Zhou Yu. Though it was just a few brief phrases like follow-up and no objection, it was enough for me to confirm that my parents' deaths were definitely not just an accident. My hand gripping the mouse turned white at the knuckles from the force. Hatred surged once again, almost overwhelming my reason. No, I can't let things get chaotic. It's not the right time yet. I need to wait for them to play out the climax of their transferring luck act. The balcony door opened, and Su Ruanruan walked back in, her face beaming with joy. "Yu, the master said it's no problem. He said tomorrow night is the auspicious time, and the ritual can be held at his altar. You need to prepare 3 drops of blood from your fingertips, your birth date and time, precise to the hour, and a piece of clothing you wear most often and that is closest to your body. The master will prepare the cinnabar, talisman paper, and the altar." "Okay," I replied calmly, "I'll take tomorrow off." Su Ruanruan left happily, and before leaving, she thoughtfully reminded me to rest well and not to overexert myself tomorrow. Closing the door, I leaned against the cold door panel and slowly slid down to sit on the floor. Tomorrow, fingertip blood, birth date and time, personal clothing, these are all mediums in folklore that can be used to cast malicious curses or dark arts. What they want is probably more than just borrowing luck. After I died in my previous life, did they use my belongings to do something even more sinister to ensure my luck was completely transferred to her, or to suppress my soul? I stood up, walked to the bathroom, and looked at my pale but sharp-eyed reflection in the mirror. Blood, I can give them, but how to give it is up to me. I rummaged through the first aid kit, found disposable blood collection needles and several sterile sealed tubes. Then, I opened my computer, searched for some scattered information about folk magic and blood taboos, combined with vague memories from my past life and the possible methods of that Jia Daoran, and gradually formed a bold plan in my mind. I am not a master of metaphysics, but I know one fundamental principle: the conservation of energy. To gain something, one must always pay a price. They want to steal my prosperous fortune. Fine, I'll give it to them. But in my fate, is there only prosperity? What about the misfortune, calamity, and loneliness that accompany prosperity, often overlooked? Just as overly bright light always casts deep shadows, what I intend to give Su Ruanruan is not just the illusion of bringing prosperity to her husband and wealth. I will also package and gift her the hidden side effects that require an exceptionally strong fate to suppress. I hope she can handle this grand gift. The next evening, I followed the address Su Ruanruan had given me and arrived at the Metaphysical Culture Consulting Studio. The place was remote, the hallway dimly lit, and the air was thick with the scent of cheap incense and dust. Jia Daoran was a gaunt middle-aged man, dressed in an ill-fitting Taoist robe. His eyes were murky yet shrewd, scanning me up and down, especially when I handed over the small sealed tube containing the fingertip blood. The greed in his eyes was almost palpable. The ritual altar was set up in a dimly lit room, with a red cloth covering the table. On it were an incense burner, candlesticks, some talismans, and a copper coin sword, creating an eerie, mystical atmosphere. Su Ruanruan was there too, watching me with a mix of nervousness and anticipation. "Miss Lin, please have a seat." Jia Daoran gestured with feigned solemnity toward a cushion in front of the altar. "Relax your mind and pray sincerely. Once the ritual begins, no matter what you see or hear, do not panic." I sat down as instructed, lowering my eyelids to conceal the cold glint in my eyes. The ritual began. Jia Daoran shook a bell, chanting incantations, burned talismans, and circled around me and Su Ruanruan. Su Ruanruan had her eyes closed, hands clasped together, her face filled with devotion, as Jia Daoran picked up the small tube containing my blood, preparing to mix it with cinnabar to draw the talisman. I quietly adjusted my breathing, my fingertips moving slightly within my sleeve. The blood I gave him wasn't pure blood from the tip of my middle finger, which is said to have the strongest yang energy. It was mixed with a small amount of blood I had collected in advance from the tip of my left ring finger. According to some obscure beliefs, the ring finger is connected to the heart, and its blood carries the essence of emotional tribulations. as well as an extremely tiny trace of and ominous energy I had deliberately obtained last night by lightly brushing my skin with something considered unlucky, like a willow branch that had swept over a grave. Of course, these additives were so minuscule that they were almost undetectable, let alone by a fraud like Jia Daoran. I just wanted to add a different kind of ingredient to the fortune transfer ritual. It was like sprinkling a tiny pinch of bitter salt into a bowl of sweet soup, so subtle it was almost imperceptible. Jia Daoran, completely unaware, used the cinnabar mixed with blood to draw twisted talismanic symbols on 2 yellow paper charms. One was pasted on Su Ruanruan's forehead, and the other was to be burned and dissolved in water for me to drink as talisman water. Now, silently recite your intention to transfer your blessings to Miss Su, Jia Daoran commanded. I closed my eyes as instructed and silently recited in my heart, I, Lin Yuyu, willingly bestow all the auspicious energy from my fate, along with the lingering solitude, misfortune, and calamity attached to its foundation, to my dearest friend Su Ruanruan. May she inherit my fortune and bear my karma. Heaven bears witness, let this be our covenant. I didn't know if this would work, but since they believed in it, I followed their way. Psychological suggestion can sometimes be more terrifying than real magic. The talisman water was burned and mixed into clear water. Jia Daoran handed me the bowl of murky liquid. Looking at the ashes floating in the bowl, I didn't hesitate and drank it all in one go. The taste was strange, carrying the scent of incense ash and a hint of rust. The ritual concluded. The talisman paper on Su Ruanruan's forehead was removed. She opened her eyes, took a moment to feel, then joyfully grabbed my hand. Yuyu, I can feel it, it's like a warm current. Thank you so much. The joy on her face was so genuine, as if she had truly obtained the treasure she had long dreamed of. Jia Daoran also stroked his chin, looking as if he had accomplished a great deed. Miss Lin is truly righteous. From now on, Miss Su will surely have everything go smoothly and all her wishes fulfilled. I smiled weakly, leaning back in the chair, my face pale. Half of it was an act, Master. I feel a bit dizzy and cold all over. Is this a normal reaction? Normal, completely normal, Jia Daoran hurriedly replied. Transferring one's foundation consumes vital energy. Rest for a few days, and you'll be fine. Go back, drink plenty of warm water, and take good care of yourself. Su Ruanruan quickly helped me up, full of concern. Yuyu, I'll take you back. You rest well. Don't worry about anything during this time. On the way back, I leaned against the back seat of the car. Eyes closed, Su Ruanruan hummed a tune beside me. In an exceptionally good mood, I quietly opened my eyes a crack, watching her profile as she basked in the joy of successfully seizing luck. Laugh, enjoy laughing while you still can. What you borrowed is not something good. The gift I gave you will soon let you experience it, piece by piece. I hope you can still manage to smile by then, in the days following the ceremony. I strictly adhered to the persona of someone who had suffered a great loss of vitality, took leave from work, and stayed at home to rest and recuperate. Su Ruanruan called at least 3 times a day, offering warm and caring words, her tone so cheerful it almost overflowed through the receiver. Yo-yo, are you feeling better now? Still dizzy? I've made some bird's nest soup for you. I'll bring it over in a bit. Okay. No need to trouble yourself, Ruanruan. I'll be fine after some rest. My voice was weak, carrying just the right amount of exhaustion. How can that be? It's all because of me. By the way, Yo-yo, she changed the subject, lowering her voice with barely contained excitement. Ejia actually messaged me on his own last night, even though it was just to ask what I was up to. It's the first time since we broke up. The master was right after all. I rolled my eyes at the ceiling, but my tone was filled with relief. Really? That's wonderful. It seems the ritual really worked. You should make the most of it. I will. Yuyu, you're truly my lucky star. She began thanking me profusely again. After hanging up, I opened the phone surveillance app. I had secretly installed hidden cameras at home after being reborn. Su Ruanruan hadn't come to deliver the bird's nest. She was happily taking selfies at an expensive dessert shop downtown, looking radiant in the photos with a sweet smile. She quickly posted them on her social media with the caption, "The dark clouds have cleared, and the sun is shining just right. Grateful for all the concern, and especially thankful for you who are willing to share your light with me. Red heart below." A bunch of clueless likes and inquiries followed. Light, I sneered. Soon you'll learn that overly intense light can burn. I stopped paying attention to her and focused on my own matters. My parents' accident was the deepest thorn in my heart. After being reborn, I had been investigating in secret. That legal consulting firm connected to Zhouyu was the breakthrough. Using some methods, I obtained some non-public internal record fragments from the traffic police detachment that handled the accident at the time, combined with the financial anomalies in Zhouyu's company and the suspicious memos from that law firm. A clear clue emerged. My parents' braking system had undergone a routine inspection at a small repair shop that had private dealings with Joey 1 week before the accident, and in the accident investigation report, there were several vague and deliberately misleading statements regarding the cause of the brake failure. Not an accident, it was murder, for the old house left by their parents, located in a prime area and slated for demolition, along with their modest savings, Joey, Suruanruan, the legal fixer who helped them tidy up loose ends, and even the auto repair shop owner. None of them will get away, but I didn't act immediately. The evidence wasn't solid enough. The strike had to be fatal. Moreover, I had to wait for the backlash to begin on Suruanruan. The backlash came faster than I had imagined, and it was a bit unexpected. About a week after the ceremony, the tone of Suruanruan's social media posts began to shift subtly. There were still the usual elegant afternoon teas, photos of newly purchased bags, and ambiguous screenshots of interactions with Ajia, her ex-boyfriend, but now they were interspersed with occasional complaints. Been having a rough time lately. Why do I keep running into weird clients? My new manicure actually chipped. It hurts my wallet. Insomnia again tonight. Counting sheep until dawn. Any good calming methods to recommend? It started with just small things. I watched with a cold eye. Another week passed, and her complaints escalated. Stepped in dog poop on the way out. Today is not a good day to go out. After 3 months of following up on a deal, it was snatched by a competitor right before signing. I'm so angry I could cry. Ajia suddenly turned cold again, taking forever to reply to messages. Did I do something wrong? Crying face. Under that stealing the deal post, a mutual friend commented, Juan is the boss of that competitor's company surnamed Zhou. Seems like the impressive Mr. Joey mentioned before. Suruanruan replied with an awkward smiley face and didn't say much more. Surnamed Zhou, my spirits lifted. Could the first visible effect of the backlash be that she's starting to jinx the men close to her or connected by interests, especially those who are fated with misfortune or have ill intentions? I immediately started investigating the company that snatched Suruanruan's deal. The boss is indeed surnamed Zhou, named Zhou Wei, and there is no obvious connection with Zhou on the surface. However, upon digging deeper, I discovered that Zhou Wei is a distant cousin of Zhou, and the two have private financial dealings. Moreover, Zhou Wei's company is one of the potential subcontractors for the major government project that Zhou is currently vying for. Interesting. It seems that the bit of prosperity energy that Suruanruan transferred from me, which carries impurities, has started to attack indiscriminately. First, it made her own boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, flip-flop repeatedly, and now it's affecting Zhou's interests. This is just the beginning. In the following days, Suruanruan's social media feed became a live broadcast of a major Mercury retrograde event. My phone fell into the toilet, my ride was cancelled repeatedly, the ceiling in my rented apartment leaked. I almost got the wrong prescription for a minor cold at the hospital, even while walking. I was precisely hit by bird droppings. She began to frequent Jia Doran's place for resolution, and her social media feed would occasionally feature a corner of the dimly lit studio with an incense burner, captioned, "Grateful for the master's guidance," but clearly, it wasn't helping. Her condition visibly deteriorated, and even her carefully curated selfies couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes or the anxiety etched between her brows. Meanwhile, things seemed to be taking a turn for the worse for Zhou as well. Through a special channel, I learned that the major project his company had been so confident about was suddenly exposed by a competitor for alleged qualification fraud and misconduct just before the final review. Despite Zhou's efforts to distance himself from the allegations, the review process was indefinitely suspended. His company's stock price began to fluctuate, and several previously committed investors started to waver in their support. Zhou was probably getting anxious and started contacting Suruanruan more frequently. I intercepted their phone calls. Yes, I tampered with a calming scented candle I gave to Suruanruan, and the content was becoming increasingly explicit. Zhou, Ruanruan, what did the master say? Did Lin Yu not clean up properly? Why do I feel like everything has been going wrong lately? Suruanruan, with a tearful voice. I don't know either, brother Yu. The master said the ritual was very successful, and my luck is indeed improving, but these misfortunes keep happening endlessly. The master said it might be because my own foundation is too weak to handle the sudden great fortune, causing a rejection reaction that needs time to adjust. Zhou impatiently, how long will it take to adjust? I can't wait. That project fell through, and the company suffered huge losses. Ask the master again if there's a way to speed it up, or can we get something more fundamental from Lin Yu, like combining her birth date and time with something more direct to create a luck anchor. A luck anchor, I've heard Jia Doran mention it in passing. It's an even more malicious method, said to require personal items, hair, blood, or even nails from a close relative or someone deeply hated, combined with their birth date and time. buried in a specific unlucky position to completely nail down and transfer the other person's fortune. The backlash is immense, and the practitioner might also suffer. They're actually this greedy and vicious. They want to completely drain me dry and even nail my soul to death. Su Ruanruan seemed frightened. Brother Yu, this is too cruel, isn't it? After all, Yu is, after all what? Zhou Yu's tone was icy. Ruanruan, don't forget, without me, would you be where you are today? Who paid for your mother's medical bills? Who bought you those designer bags? At this point, don't think you can just walk away clean. Either keep going, or, you know the consequences. Su Ruanruan fell silent, leaving only the faint sound of sobbing. I turned off the listening device, my fingers icy cold. Good, very good, dogs biting dogs, both ending up with a mouthful of fur. Zhou Yu's urgency and greed. Su Ruanruan's fear and indecision. This was exactly what I wanted. I decided to add more fuel to the fire. I had been sick for so long. It was time to recover. I invited Su Ruanruan out for a meal, choosing a restaurant with a nice ambience. When she saw me, Su Ruanruan was clearly startled. During this time, I had deliberately eaten light, gotten plenty of sleep, and even practiced some yoga. My complexion was noticeably better than before, my eyes clear and bright, even giving off a subtle sense of renewal. You look so much better. Su Ruanruan held my hand, her expression complex. There was concern, but more than that, a flicker of uncertainty. According to her and Jia Doran's theory, I had transferred so much of my foundation to her that I should have been severely weakened and listless. So why did I seem to be glowing with health instead? Yes, after lying down for so long, I've had time to think things through. I poured her tea, my tone relaxed. Maybe I've finally let go of some obsessions. I feel lighter, both in body and mind. Ruanruan, what about you? How have you been lately? Have you made up with Ajay? Su Ruanruan's smile froze on her face, and her eyes instantly reddened again. Don't even mention it. He's hot and cold, and I have no idea what he's thinking. Work isn't going well either. I keep making mistakes. Do you think there might be something wrong with the ritual? I feel like my luck is getting worse and worse. How could that be? I feigned surprise. Didn't the master say it was a great success? Maybe you're just under too much pressure. Or, could it be something else? I hesitated, leaving my words hanging. What other reason? Su Ruanruan asked nervously. I lowered my voice and leaned closer to her. I've been looking into some metaphysical things lately in my spare time. I came across a theory that says when it comes to transferring luck, if the recipient's fate isn't strong enough, or if there's a more powerful negative energy interference around them, not only might they fail to receive the good fortune, but it could also backfire and amplify their original bad luck. Negative energy interference. Su Ruanruan's face turned pale. What kind of negative energy? For example, my gaze drifted subtly toward the new, expensive diamond necklace around her neck. Likely a gift from Zhou Yu, hinting at something deeper. An overly eager, impure external force getting involved, or perhaps, the recipient has a guilty conscience. If someone has done something wrong, even the best luck won't be enough to suppress it. Su Ruanruan's hand trembled violently, causing the tea to spill. She flusteredly wiped it up, not daring to meet my eyes. I knew the seed had been planted. Once the seed of doubt is sown, it will grow wildly, nourished by fear and selfishness. After the meal, I casually mentioned that the house my parents left in my hometown seemed to be slated for demolition, and I heard the compensation would be quite substantial. I planned to go back and handle it in a while. Su Ruanruan's eyes suddenly lit up, but quickly dimmed again as she forced a smile. That's great. You've finally turned your hardships into sweetness. Bitter ends lead to sweet beginnings. I watched her retreating figure and sneered inwardly. My sweet is yet to come. And your bitter has only just begun. A few days later, through some channels, I accidentally let Su Ruanruan discover that Zhou Yu had recently been in contact with another woman, whose well-off family background might be helpful for his project. At the same time, I also let Zhou Yu coincidentally learn that Su Ruanruan had privately sought out Jia Doran again, inquiring about backlash and luck transfer stakes, with words full of resentment and fear toward him. Cracks often start to break from within. Like a calm hunter, I set the traps and then retreated into the shadows, watching the prey, driven by panic, suspicion, and greed, step by step move toward the end I had chosen for them. And my ultimate revenge is not just to make them suffer, to lose their wealth and love. I will uncover the truth of their murder of my parents and bring them to justice. I will make them watch, at the peak of their confidence and when they think they control everything, as everything they possess, along with their filthy souls, plunges into the abyss of eternal damnation. Soon, the increasingly obvious backlash on Su Ruanruan and the growing troubles for Zhou Yu are the prelude to this grand drama reaching its climax. Once a crack appears, it spreads at an astonishing speed. The information I accidentally leaked to Su Ruanruan and Zhou Yu is like two precisely delivered poisonous mushroom spores, quickly taking root, spreading. and releasing deadly toxins in the soil of their respective suspicions and anxieties. Su Ruanruan began to harass Jia Daoran even more frequently, her tone shifting from initial devout pleas to panicked questioning and veiled threats. Master, the talisman you gave me is completely useless. I was almost hit by a flower pot falling from upstairs yesterday, and now, Jia won't even talk to me. Didn't you say that if the ritual succeeded, everything would go smoothly for me, Master Jia? I've been plagued by bad luck lately, and the company is about to sideline me. Did you not handle things properly? What's going on with Lin Yuyu? Why does she seem completely unaffected? I'm telling you, I paid a hefty price for this. If there's no effect soon, I'll report you for engaging in feudal superstition and fraud. Jia Daoran was overwhelmed on all fronts. On one hand, he had to deal with Su Ruanruan's pressing questions. On the other, it seemed Zhou Yu was putting even more pressure on him, demanding that he come up with a more effective solution as soon as possible, like that malicious luck-shifting stake. As for me, I seized the perfect opportunity to bump into Su Ruanruan again. This time, it was outside a psychological clinic. She had finally caved under the pressure and sought help from a therapist. I pretended to have just finished a session, wearing an expression of just the right mix of melancholy and relief. Ruanruan, what are you doing here? I asked, feigning surprise. Su Ruanruan saw me, her eyes darting away as she stammered. I'm here to meet a friend. I'm here for psychological counseling, I said calmly, sighing. I used to feel this heavy weight on me, as if I were carrying something invisible. I kept having nightmares, dreaming about some unpleasant things. The doctor said it might be due to long-term stress, causing somatic symptoms and a slight sense of persecution. But after a few counseling sessions recently, I feel much better, and that heavy feeling has lightened. With every word I spoke, Su Ruanruan's face grew paler. Heavy feeling, invisible thing, persecution. These words pierced her sensitive and guilty nerves like needles. Is that so? Her voice was dry. That's good then, Ruanruan. I looked at her with concern. You look so pale. Have you been too tired lately? I've heard excessive superstition can sometimes create psychological suggestions and increase anxiety. Do you want to go see someone too? Just think of it as a place to talk. Su Ruanruan shook her head violently, as if she had been scalded. No, there's no need. I'm fine. She hurriedly said goodbye and almost fled in panic. I knew that the string in her heart was already stretched to its limit. Doubts about the ritual's effectiveness, fear of Zhou Yu, the inability to understand her own bad luck, combined with my well-timed psychological suggestion, were enough to throw her into complete disarray. Sure enough, within a couple of days, I intercepted a heated argument between her and Jia Daoran. Su Ruanruan was hysterical. I don't care, you have to fix this for me. Zhou Yu is pressuring me. I'm going crazy. Aren't you supposed to be a master? Can't even handle Lin Yuyu. Why is she getting better and better? Did you even use the things I gave you correctly? Or maybe, you're in cahoots with her, scamming me out of my money. Jia Daoran also lost his temper. Miss Su, show some respect. I performed the ritual, you watched me draw the talisman, and you provided the blood. If it didn't work, it's because your own fate can't bear it. Or your heart isn't sincere. What does that have to do with me? If you keep making trouble, don't blame me for exposing your dirty secrets. You and that Mr. Zhou. Do you think I don't know about the shady things you've been up to? Both ends of the phone fell silent, leaving only heavy breathing. Two people holding each other's secrets had reached a strange balance in the face of fear and self-interest. Then, what do we do now? Su Ruanruan's voice was choked with tears and despair. Jia Daoran fell silent for a moment, then said in a sinister tone, the luck-shifting stake that Mr. Zhou mentioned might be worth a try, but it requires something more fundamental, and the risks are greater. You need to think it through. What is more fundamental? Su Ruanruan asked, trembling. Preferably, the blood and bones of a close relative, or an item that has been worn for a long time, carrying a strong personal aura, or even resentment. Jia Daoran's voice was like a venomous snake hissing. Bone and blood, long-term wearing, resentment. Among the relics left by my parents, there are indeed a few old items they wore for many years, but would Zhou Yu and Su Ruanruan dare to touch them? Just then, Zhou Yu's side seemed unable to hold back any longer. He probably felt that relying on Su Ruanruan and that unreliable charlatan was too inefficient, so he decided to step in personally, or rather, use more realistic means to deal with me, this obstacle. I received a call from the company's HR department. The tone was polite but cold, saying that I had been on long-term leave, even though I had a sick leave note, and that the position couldn't remain vacant indefinitely. The company had decided to optimize my role and would provide compensation according to labor laws, hoping I would return as soon as possible to complete the resignation procedures. No doubt Joyu used his connections to apply pressure. He's afraid that I might recover and get in his way, and even more afraid that I might still hold something that could harm him, like suspicions about my parents' accident. Very well, cutting off my financial resources, trying to force me into a corner. Perhaps they even think that once I'm down and out, it will be easier for them to control me, or even seize the house my parents left behind. I played along, pretending to be panicked and desperate, crying over the phone to a few friends, including Su Ruanruan, about the blow of unemployment and my confusion about the future. On the other end of the line, Su Ruanruan offered insincere comfort, but there was a hint of barely noticeable relief and excitement in her tone. She probably thought that the more miserable I was, the more it proved the ritual was effective, that the good luck had simply transferred to her, while I bore the cost. But she rejoiced too soon. I calmly packed up my personal belongings from the company, took the modest compensation, and didn't panic as they had expected. I moved out of the rented apartment and relocated to a cheaper but equally secure neighborhood. Then, I officially began an in-depth investigation into my parents' accident. This time, I was no longer just secretly gathering clues. I found an old traffic police officer who had handled the accident back then. He was now retired. Carrying the compiled doubts, brake maintenance records, law firm memos, Joyu's financial irregularities, along with a consultation fee, I knocked on his door. At first, he was impatient and even somewhat guarded, but when I presented the evidence, especially mentioning the small auto repair shop connected to Joyu and hinting that I knew someone had exerted pressure back then, his expression changed. After a long silence, he smoked a cigarette, his cloudy eyes flickering with anger and helplessness. "Young lady, it's been so long since this happened. Stirring things up won't do you any good," he sighed. "It's not for my benefit, but for my deceased parents," I said, looking at him with a determined gaze. "They can't have died under unclear circumstances. I know you have concerns, and I'm not asking you to testify. I just want to know what doubts were overlooked back then. Is there any possibility of reopening the investigation?" The old traffic officer fell silent again for a long time. Finally, he stubbed out his cigarette, went into the inner room, and brought out a yellowed notebook. Flipping to a certain page, he pointed to some messy notes and abbreviations. "All I can tell you is that during the on-site investigation back then, the break in the brake fluid line didn't look like it was caused by natural wear or impact from the accident. It seemed more like it had been deliberately weakened beforehand with some kind of tool, but this detailed report never made it into the official case file. Also, the memory card from your parents' car's dashcam was reported as damaged in the accident, but as far as I know, that model's memory card was quite impact-resistant. Think about it yourself. Who took the card, and why did they insist it was destroyed? The dashcam, the memory card." My heart raced wildly. If the memory card was still around, if it recorded what happened before the accident, or even footage of Joyu or someone he sent tampering with the car, is there any chance the card might still exist? My voice tightened. The old traffic policeman shook his head. I don't know. The case was quickly closed as an accident back then, and the related evidence was probably disposed of long ago." He paused, lowering his voice. "However, the officer in charge of evidence custody back then, Xiao Wang, was later fired for another incident. I heard he hasn't been doing well since, and it seems he might be a bit greedy for money." A new lead, the evidence custodian, greedy for money. I thanked the old traffic policeman, and as I left his home, my palms were drenched in sweat. I had a direction now. As long as I could find that Xiao Wang, use money to pry open his mouth, and get the memory card or concrete information, it would become the key to bringing down Joyu. Just as I was fully focused on tracking down the whereabouts of the memory card, the backlash on Su Ruanruan's side finally erupted for the first time in an extremely dramatic manner. The cause was that Joyu, in a desperate attempt to salvage the stranded major project, went all out, using a large amount of funds to grease the wheels and even promising an extremely high profit share. The key intermediary who facilitated the connection was said to be a big shot with a complex background. Joyu had Su Ruanruan accompany him, likely intending to use her recently booming luck and sweet appearance to curry favor with that big shot. The drinking session was held at a private club. What exactly happened remains unknown to outsiders. However, I learned from a special source of information that the scene that night was extremely chaotic. The big shot suddenly suffered a food allergy. He was severely allergic to a rare spice, a matter kept extremely confidential, and was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. Joyu, while toasting, accidentally spilled wine on another important guest, sparking a conflict, and Su Ruanruan, in the chaos, unexpectedly took a fall, not only spraining her ankle but also having her dress torn, leaving her in a sorry state. More importantly, Someone anonymously reported to the Disciplinary Inspection Commission and tax authorities the irregularities and illicit benefits involved in Zhou Yu's company's handling of that project, with detailed evidence. The timing of the report happened to coincide with the chaos of the drinking session that very night. Zhou Yu was quickly taken away for investigation. The company's accounts were frozen. The project was completely scrapped, and he now faces serious legal charges. Su Ruanruan, as the companion that evening, was also summoned by the police for questioning, although she insisted that she knew nothing and was merely accompanying a client for dinner. Rumors had already begun to spread. Her reputation as a husband killer and a jinx quickly circulated within her small circle. Her ex-boyfriend, a Jia, who had shown some signs of reconsidering their relationship, completely blocked her this time. Jia Daoran was so frightened that he shut down his studio and fled. Before leaving, whether out of revenge or panic, he sent Su Ruanruan a vague text message: "Leave Zhou immediately, the negative energy has backfired, the luck you've been carrying is problematic, and you may face a great calamity." Su Ruanruan completely broke down. She called me, her voice hoarse and incoherent. "You, save me, Zhou Yu is in trouble, the master has run away, they all deceived me, what should I do? I'm so scared. Those misfortunes keep happening. And now even the police are after me." Sob, Is it because of you, because of that ritual?" I held the phone and walked to the window. Outside, the sun was shining brightly. It was a beautiful day. Ruanruan, my voice was calm, even tinged with a hint of pity. "What are you talking about? Didn't the ritual help change your luck? Zhou Yu's trouble is his own fault for breaking the law and violating discipline. What does it have to do with you? As for bad luck, aren't you overthinking it? I've said it before, if you have a guilty conscience, even the best luck can't hold it back." "No, that's not it," Su Ruanruan screamed. "There must be something wrong. The ritual is flawed. The luck you gave me is flawed. You, tell me, what exactly did you give me? Say something." "I gave you my most sincere blessings, Ruanruan," I said softly, then hung up the phone and promptly blocked all her contact information. "My blessing. You better keep it well. This is just the appetizer." Zhou Yu is in prison, and Su Ruanruan is disgraced, living in constant fear. But for me, it's not enough. The blood debt of my parents has yet to be repaid. That possible dashcam memory card has not been found yet. I turned on my computer and looked at the blurry photo of Xiao Wang, the former evidence custodian, and the latest address information on the screen. Next, it's time to go find him. The game is far from over. Finding the former evidence custodian Xiao Wang went more smoothly than expected. His real name is Wang Yong, and he now works as a security guard at an auto repair center. He has a gambling addiction, is deeply in debt, and looks haggard with dark circles under his eyes. I didn't reveal my true intentions directly. Instead, I disguised myself as a private detective looking to dig up dirt on a competitor, a role not uncommon around the auto repair district, and invited him for a drink. We chatted casually, gradually steering the conversation toward that traffic accident from a few years ago. "Brother Wang, I heard you used to work in the traffic police department. Do you have any interesting stories saved up?" I handed him a good cigarette and lowered my voice. Wang Yong gave me a wary glance, but the greed in his eyes outweighed the caution. "Why are you asking about that? It's ancient history from years ago. A client is interested in that couple who had the accident back then, especially the stuff in their car," I hinted meaningfully, sliding a thick envelope toward him. Wang Yong's fingers brushed over the envelope, its thickness making his Adam's apple bob. He glanced around, leaned in closer, and the smell of alcohol wafted over me. "That matter, there's a bit to it, but the stuff is long gone, destroyed according to regulations." "Really destroyed?" I stared into his eyes. "I heard the memory card from that dashcam was pretty tough, and some things, if you keep them, might just buy you a few drinks someday, right?" "Brother Wang," Wang Yun's expression changed, his eyes flickering. "You, what exactly do you know? I know someone doesn't want the contents of that card to see the light of day." I slowed my tone. "I also know, Brother Wang, you're short on cash right now. How about this, you tell me where the card is, or a copy, this much." I gestured with my hand. 3 times the amount in the envelope. A powerful temptation and long-suppressed fear intertwined on Wang Yun's face. He took a big gulp of wine, panting heavily. The card was taken away back then. It wasn't handled by me. Someone from above came directly to retrieve it, saying it was needed for technical analysis. But I kept my wits about me. Before the card was taken, I secretly made a copy onto a USB drive. Originally, I thought, just in case, he didn't finish. But I understood, keeping a backup either out of fear of taking the blame or as leverage for blackmail. "Where's the USB drive?" My heart was pounding wildly. "Sold it a long time ago." Wang Yim slammed the table in frustration. "I lost a bet a couple of years ago and needed money urgently, so I sold it to a second-hand dealer. I think he ran a computer repair shop." Another dead end. "No, there's still a lead." Which repair shop, roughly when, what did the USB drive look like? I fired off a series of questions. Wanyam tried hard to recall and gave me a rough address range and time, along with a description of the USB drive, a very ordinary black metal USB drive with a faded internal traffic police label attached, bearing a blurry accident number and date. I immediately got up and, based on the vague information Wanyam provided, began a needle in a haystack search in that area. I went from one computer repair shop to another, from one second-hand electronics stall to the next, describing the characteristics of the USB drive and asking if they had received it a few years ago. The process was tedious and full of uncertainty. 3 days passed with no results, just as I was almost ready to give up and consider other approaches. The owner of an old, small repair shop tucked deep in an alley, after listening to my description, pushed up his reading glasses, a black metal USB drive with a traffic police label. I think I have some impression. It was several years ago, right? A desperate gambler brought it in to sell, saying it was scrapped from his workplace. I thought it looked decent, so I bought it for a few dollars. The owner spoke slowly, but with that kind of official label, I usually don't dare keep it. I removed the chip and sold the casing as scrap plastic. The data inside, who knows what it was? It might have been cleared during formatting. My heart sank. Dismantled, cleared out. What about the chip? Is it still there? I asked without much hope. The boss thought for a moment, then turned around and rummaged through the mountain of scrap parts piled behind him, muttering, "Seems like I didn't throw it away. Some of the chips I removed, the ones in good condition, I kept them. You never know when they might come in handy for repairing old machines." Time ticked by, dust dancing in the dim light. Just as I was about to lose hope, the boss let out a surprised "ha" and pulled out a small chip from the bottom of the box, casually wrapped in an anti-static bag. "Is this it?" Back then, the main controller chip for that USB drive seemed to be this model, and there was a flash memory chip next to it. "Look, they're all in this bag." I took the lightweight anti-static bag, inside of which lay 2 small chips. One of them was a flash memory chip, likely storing the crucial data from back then. But is the data still there? Is the chip damaged? "Boss, this chip, can I buy it? Also, can you try to read the data here? Money is no issue," I said urgently. The boss looked at me, then at the chip, probably thinking that this old thing could still be exchanged for money. "A pretty good deal. Read the data. My old equipment here won't work. You'd need to go to a professional data recovery place. You can take the chip. Just give me $100. I immediately paid the money, clutching the anti-static bag tightly, as if holding on to my last hope. Professional data recovery centers charge high fees and offer no guarantee of success. I chose the most reputable one, handed over the chip, explained the situation, only mentioning a family accident and wanting to retrieve possible records, and paid a significant upfront fee. Waiting for the results tip time, I returned to my temporary residence, exhausted but unable to sleep. The injustice my parents suffered, and the evil deeds of Zhouyu and Su Ruanruan weighed on my heart like 2 heavy stones. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. When I answered, I heard Su Ruanruan's hoarse, frantic voice. Somehow, she had managed to get my new number again. "Lin Yuyu. I know it was you who did this. What bullshit ritual. It's all your fault. I hope you die a horrible death. Zhouyu has been arrested, and I've lost everything. It's all because of you. Give me back my luck, otherwise, I'll haunt you even as a ghost." She cursed, cried, and threatened incoherently. I listened quietly, waiting for her to vent before speaking coldly. "Su Ruanruan, you've got the wrong person. What harmed you was your own greed and foolishness. What you borrowed was never good luck. It was your and Zhouyu's malicious intentions that attracted something you couldn't handle. You brought this upon yourselves. Understand, you're talking nonsense. It was you. You have a fate that harms others. You brought misfortune to your parents, and now you're harming me. I'm going to call the police. I'll see you for harming people with feudal superstition." She screamed hysterically. "Call the police." "Good," I smiled. "Actually, I'd also like to ask the police why the brake lines of my parents' car were tampered with just before their accident years ago. Why did Zhouyu's account receive a suspicious sum of money afterward? And you, Su Ruanruan, as Zhouyu's accomplice, not only failed to report it but even helped cover it up. What crime should that be?" There was a deathly silence on the other end of the phone, broken only by Su Ruanruan's heavy, terrified gasps. You know, how could you?" Her voice trembled uncontrollably. "If you don't want others to know, don't do it in the first place," I said coldly. "Su Ruanruan, your retribution has only just begun. Enjoy it." I hung up the phone and blocked the number again. I knew the venomous snake of fear had already sunk its fangs deep into her heart. She was finished. A few days later, the Data Recovery Center called, their tone excited. "Ms. Lin, we have good news. Part of the data on the chip has been recovered." There is indeed a dashcam video file, although it's somewhat damaged. The crucial parts are still viewable. I rushed over almost as fast as I could. On the recovery center's computer, I saw that piece of footage, sealed away for years. The footage was a bit shaky, the colors distorted, but it was clear enough. It was the interior view from my father's car. The timestamp showed the evening of the day of the accident. The car was driving on a familiar suburban road. Suddenly, my mother in the passenger seat pointed ahead and said something, audio corrupted, unclear. My father seemed to slow down slightly. Immediately after, the image shook violently, accompanied by the screech of brakes and the deafening sound of metal twisting, followed by static and darkness. In the final moment of violent shaking, at the edge of the frame, it seemed to briefly capture a partial view of a black sedan ahead, and a quick, blurry motion of something being thrown from the black sedan's window, like a small tool, and on my father's car's dashboard, the brake warning light was already illuminated before the violent shaking began. Can you zoom in and process that black car and the moment something was thrown? My voice trembled. The technician worked on it, and the footage was zoomed in, denoised, and sharpened, although still blurry. The model of the black car, a relatively common model at the time, and a somewhat unclear but recognizable license plate ending were visible. More importantly, the object that was thrown, when magnified, faintly revealed the outline of a small pipe wrench, and back then, Zhou happened to own an identical black car. As for the pipe wrench, that small repair shop Zhou had dealings with was never short of all kinds of tools. Ironclad evidence. While it wasn't enough to directly pinpoint Zhou, it was sufficient to be the sharp blade that pierced through the window paper. Combined with the old traffic officer's mention of the artificially weakened brake fluid line and Wang Yun's testimony, the USB drive was taken away by higher-ups. A clear chain of evidence emerged. Zhou, or someone he directed, used a pipe wrench to pre-damage the brake fluid line, creating the illusion of an accident, and afterward, through connections, took away the dashcam memory card that might have recorded the anomaly in an attempt to destroy the evidence. I copied all the recovered data and the repaired video clips, and immediately contacted a lawyer I had previously been in touch with, one known for his integrity and outspokenness. At the same time, I compiled all the materials I had organized, including the videos, the key points of the old traffic police officer's testimony, anonymized, Wang Yun's testimony about the improper removal of the USB drive, Zhou's financial irregularities, and the evidence linking him to the auto repair shop, into a detailed report. I then sent it to the City Procuratorate, the Disciplinary Inspection Commission, and the Supervisory Department of the higher-level Public Security Authority. This time, I did not remain anonymous. In the section for the informant, I solemnly signed my own name, Lin Yu. After completing all of this, I walked out of the law firm. The setting sun was as red as blood, staining half the sky crimson. I knew that the storm was about to truly descend. The network of connections behind Zhou might retaliate, Su Ruanruan might become desperate and lash out, and even the fugitive Jia Daoren could be dragged into the fray. But I am not afraid anymore. The blood debt of my parents, I will personally settle. The stolen life, I have reclaimed. As for the ridiculous backlash on Su Ruanruan, it is merely a trivial interest on my path of revenge. I took up my phone and sent a text message to Su Ruanruan's last number, with only one sentence: the day has dawned, time for a reckoning. Then, I walked towards the location designated by the police, facing the setting sun, ready to cooperate with the subsequent investigation. My battle may be nearing its end, but their hell has just begun. The words "good news from the Data Recovery Center" were like a bolt of lightning tearing through the long, dark night. I stared at the screen. The restored footage was still rough, yet undeniably damning. The license plate number of the black sedan, the blurred outline of the pipe wrench being thrown. After a moment of dead silence, my heart began to pound violently, not with fear, but with the cold, trembling anticipation of a final judgment day that had finally arrived. As I stepped out of the recovery center, the sunset was at its peak, staining the sky with a bloody hue. I mentally arranged and reinforced all the evidence: the restored video, the anonymous testimony of the old traffic officer, Wang Yun's recording, Zhou's financial records, and the subtle traces of dealings with the auto repair shop, forming a cold, logical chain. This time, without a moment of hesitation, I walked straight into the office of the lawyer known for his stern demeanor, Mr. Qin. He wasn't anyone I had consulted before. He was the only lawyer I had secretly observed and selected over a long period, the only one willing to take on such a tough case that might involve local networks of influence. I pushed the thick stack of materials toward him, my voice surprisingly calm. "Attorney Qin, I want to file a real name report. The evidence is here, and the informant is Lin Yu." Attorney Qin adjusted his glasses, quickly flipping through the pages, his expression shifting from serious to grave. Finally settling on the throwing motion in the video footage, he looked up at me, his gaze sharp. Do you know what this means? Once it starts, there's no turning back. The other side might use every means to retaliate, slander, threats, even more despicable tactics. My way out was cut off 6 years ago. I met his gaze. They used my parents' lives to block every path I had. Now, it's my turn to open a path for them. A path to the truth and to justice. Lawyer Chin fell silent for a moment, then nodded firmly. Understood. This material needs to be framed in more precise legal language, and the chain of evidence must be airtight. The Procuratorate, the Disciplinary Commission, the higher-level police supervision department. I'll find the right entry point and submit it to all of them simultaneously. But before that, he paused. You need to be fully prepared. They'll know it was you very soon. I'm waiting. I even managed a faint smile. The storm arrived faster than expected. 48 hours after the real name report materials were submitted, my phone began to be bombarded by various unknown numbers. When I answered, there were silent threats or disguised voices warning, "Little girl, some things are better left untouched. Be careful not to get burned. Your parents' deaths were an accident. Don't go looking for trouble yourself." I calmly recorded the audio and forwarded it to Lawyer Chin. Meanwhile, negative posts about me began to appear sporadically online, accusing me of being mentally unstable, falsely accusing my ex-boyfriend out of spite, and trying to extort money through hype. The traces of hired trolls were obvious, but the malicious words still stung. Su Ruanruan seemed to have found her final outlet for venting. Using a long-abandoned social media account, she posted a hysterical video. Gaunt-faced with sunken eyes, she looked like a genuine madwoman, crying and shouting at the camera. "It's her, Lin Yuyu, that witch. She used dark magic. She stole my luck and harmed Zhou. Police, you need to investigate her. She's a murderer." The video was quickly taken down by the platform for violating guidelines, but the frenzied image and accusations still stirred up murky ripples within a small circle. Lawyer Chin acted swiftly. Not only did he submit the materials through multiple channels, but he also proactively contacted several reputable investigative media outlets, providing them with clues that, while not revealing core secrets, were enough to capture public attention. Soon, an in-depth report titled 6-Year-Old Car Crash Mystery Resurfaces, Accident or Foul Play, Key Dashcam Evidence Mysteriously Disappears and Reappears was quietly published. Though it didn't name names, the outline it sketched was enough to send shivers down the spines of those in the know. Pressure began to shift in the opposite direction. The news of Zhou Yu's formal arrest was announced one early morning. The charges were suspicion of intentional homicide, attempted resulting in death, destruction of evidence, and bribery. The wording of the announcement was precise, yet it carried immense weight. He was directly transferred from administrative detention to criminal detention, and his place of confinement was also changed. That afternoon, I received a formal summons from the Special Investigation Team, requiring me to cooperate with the investigation. When I walked into the solemn interrogation room at the Municipal Public Security Bureau, I saw that the people sitting across from me were no longer the officers from the local police station but several unfamiliar, more authoritative faces. The questioning lasted the entire afternoon. I recounted everything I knew, from the anomalies after my parents' accident, to the changes in Zhou Yu and Su Ruanruan's relationship, to my investigations over the years, discovering the brake line issue, finding the retired traffic officer, tracking down the dashcam USB drive, and finally recovering the data. Each step was supported by corresponding evidence or witness leads. I didn't mention metaphysics or the concept of borrowing luck. I only spoke of facts that the law and evidence could touch upon. The young female officer responsible for recording occasionally looked up at me, her gaze complex, a mix of concern and an almost unbelievable shock. Before the questioning ended, the lead investigator, an older police officer with graying temples, closed the notebook and looked at me, asking one final question. "Lin Yuyu, how have you managed these past 6 years?" I remained silent for a few seconds. The last rays of the setting sun outside the window happened to fall on the back of my hand, warm. By holding on to the words, "I can't just let it go." "I survived," I said. He looked at me deeply, then nodded. "You may go. Keep your communication channels open. We may need your cooperation later." Leaving the Municipal Bureau building, the sky was caught in that ambiguous twilight between day and night. Lawyer Chin's call came through. "Initial feedback is positive. The chain of evidence you provided, especially the recovered video and related evidence, played a crucial role. Zhou Yu is starting to crack under pressure." Additionally, that higher-up who illegally removed and attempted to destroy evidence back then has already been taken in for questioning by the Disciplinary Commission. Pulling up one radish brings up the mud. This time, the fallout won't be small. "What about Su Ruanruan?" I asked her. Lawyer Chin's tone carried a hint of cold mockery. "Suspected of harboring a criminal, giving false testimony." and possibly even participating in some of the planning. The police have formally opened an investigation into her. Moreover, based on the financial transactions we've uncovered between her and Zhou, along with several questionable funds, she's in for a tough time. Her erratic behavior might not necessarily help her escape guilt in a forensic psychiatric evaluation. Hanging up the phone, I walked alone on the street as the city lights began to glow. The urban clamor persisted, yet it felt as if it were separated by a transparent barrier. The blade of hatred, tempered by 6 years of venomous fire, had finally been thrust into the enemy's heart, but instead of the anticipated ecstasy, there was only a vast, roaring emptiness, and deep within the exhaustion, a faint, seeping ache. I returned to my small rented room. On the table, the portrait of my parents had been carefully wiped clean again. Looking warm under the desk lamp, I lit 3 slender incense sticks, and a wisp of smoke curled gently upward. "Dad, Mom," I whispered, "I'm almost at the end of this road. Those who harmed you won't get away with it." The incense ash fell silently. The following month saw the slow but steady progress of the judicial process. Zhou's case moved relatively quickly due to the solid evidence. Faced with irrefutable video evidence, Wang Yong's testimony, and the subsequent discovery of financial transactions between him and the auto repair shop, his psychological defenses crumbled. He confessed that, driven by greed for a critical business opportunity my family was negotiating at the time. I later learned from lawyer Qin that my parents were about to sign a major project that would have elevated our family business to new heights, and with Su Ruanruan's instigation and provision of specific information, Su Ruanruan had tricked me into revealing my parents' itinerary for that day. He conspired with a trusted accomplice at the auto repair shop to sabotage the brake lines of my parents' vehicle in advance, creating the illusion of an accident. Afterward, he used a distant relative working in the traffic police department, the so-called person above, to illegally retrieve and destroy the dashcam's memory card, believing he had covered all his tracks. Little did he expect that Wang Yong had secretly kept a backup. And even less did he anticipate that this backup would eventually find its way into my hands and be successfully recovered 6 years later. Su Ruanruan consistently insisted that she was merely guessing and heard it from Zhou, attempting to shift the blame for the mastermind entirely onto Zhou. However, based on communication records, fund flows, her active efforts to conceal the truth earlier, and her later attempts to trade luck with me, the police determined that she was at least a key accomplice and participant. Her mental state evaluation concluded that she had certain histrionic personality tendencies but possessed full criminal responsibility at the time of the crime, and currently, the absconding Jia Daoran was also listed as a fugitive, charged with using superstition to commit fraud and conspiring with Su Ruanruan to infringe upon my rights. Although borrowing luck cannot be criminalized, fraud and deceptive means can. On the day of the trial, I went, sitting in the plaintiff's seat for the criminal case with civil compensation. I looked at Zhou in the defendant's seat, wearing prison clothes and looking defeated, and Su Ruanruan, whose eyes were evasive and trembling uncontrollably. My heart felt utterly indifferent. Their defense lawyer was still making a final, feeble attempt, questioning the reliability of the video evidence recovery technology and the authenticity of Wang Yong's testimony. It wasn't until the prosecutor played the restored key video clip in court and presented the comparison report of Zhou's vehicle from that year, along with the investigation results on the source of the pipe wrench tools, that Zhou finally lowered his head, his shoulders slumping. Su Ruanruan let out a short, choked sob. Like the mournful cry of an animal in its final moments, the judge's gavel fell with a crisp sound. The verdict: Zhou, convicted of intentional homicide, with cruel methods and severe consequences, destruction of evidence, bribery, and other charges, was sentenced to life imprisonment and deprived of political rights for life. Su Ruanruan, as an accomplice, was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The higher-ups in the traffic police department and the accomplices at the auto repair shop also received their due punishments. In the civil part of the case, Zhou and Su Ruanruan were ordered to jointly compensate me for various losses, though I knew they were unlikely to pay much. The significance of the ruling was what mattered. Stepping out of the courtroom, the sunlight was a bit harsh. Attorney Qin patted my shoulder and said, "It's over. The law has given you, and your parents, an answer." I nodded and said, "Thank you, Attorney Qin. What are your plans next?" he asked. I looked up at the vast sky, where a flock of pigeons flew by, their whistles long and lingering. "First, get a good night's sleep." Then, I paused. "Go see my parents and tell them this outcome in person." The day I went to the cemetery was a clear autumn day. The sky was a brilliant blue, and the leaves were golden. I lit a copy of the verdict in front of my parents' tombstones. The pages curled and blackened in the flames, turning into thin ashes that scattered with the wind, as if the heavy guilt and pain were also carried away by the clean autumn breeze into nothingness. "Dad, Mom, rest in peace." I stroked the cold stone. where my parents' names remained clear. Your daughter will live well from now on. I will live cleanly and honorably, carrying the love and courage you gave me. I didn't cry. Over these 6 years, my tears had long since dried up or turned into the fire that tempered the blade. At this moment, there was only peace, a deep, unfathomable peace, and beneath that peace, a new strength quietly stirring. As I was leaving the cemetery, I ran into an unexpected person at the gate, the old detective who had once given me his business card. He seemed to have been waiting there on purpose. "Kid, I know the outcome," he said, his tone much gentler. "You did well, better than your parents. They were too soft-hearted, too trusting." I nodded slightly. "Thank you for the warning back then." "It wasn't a warning. I just thought you were a kid with fire in your eyes and a scale in your heart." He looked at me, then pulled a small box from his pocket and handed it to me. "Your father left this with me a long time ago, an old seal, not worth much, but it's carved with your childhood nickname." Returning it to its rightful owner, I took the small wooden box, opened it, and inside was a small Shoshan stone seal, carved with the simple and childlike characters UU. The moment my fingertips touched it, a distant warmth, belonging to my father, seemed to pierce through time and settle in my heart. "Thank you." This time, my voice was choked with emotion. The old detective waved his hand, turned, and walked away, his figure blending into the autumn sunlight. I gripped the seal tightly, feeling the gentle warmth of the stone. The flames of hatred had burned for 6 years, finally consuming the evil and forging a new me. I was no longer the girl trembling in the shadow of fate, nor the avenger who could only rely on unconventional means to fight back. I am Lin Yu, the one who clears my parents' name, the one who reclaims my own destiny. What will the future hold? I don't know, but I know that from now on, with every step, I will walk in the light. I turn around, my back to the cemetery that buries my pain, and walk steadily toward the open road leading out of the mountains. The wind rustles through the treetops, whispering softly, as if bidding me farewell. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.